Incoming mail.
Good morning and welcome to today's market color session. I see a couple of us online. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's so good to have everyone here. During the course of today's analysis, we'll be looking at commodity currencies. Before we then proceed to look at indices. So by commodity currencies, I mean we'll be looking at AUD/USD, NZD/USD, and USD CAD. So let us see what these asset classes have done since Tuesday's analysis and what we think they're going to be doing during the course of today's market movement. If you happen to have any question while I analyze, please do well to leave it in the chat box. Questions related to commodity currencies. And when I'm done, I'm just going to pretty much answer it before we move into the second half. Okay, so starting off with a look at NZD/USD, you remember that on Tuesday, we marked out certain level points where we said it is either price comes to break through, hit resistance and continues to sell, or it is going to break above, find support and start to buy, targeting another level point. And you can see what we're seeing here has been more buy pressure Moving into NZD-USD and AUD-USD. So the levels we had marked out were broken above, and new sunshines, basically meaning that people who broke above this market, pushing it higher, are starting to take profit. Now, because I know that the indicators can look a bit confusing, and not all of us are students of the Forex Bootcamp course, I'm going to just take these levels out so you can see how we come about them during the course of today's session. For those of you who do not have the indicators, what you want to do is to take notes of the prices that I'm going to be marking out and draw that on your charts, get extra confidence if you need to, and take advantage of today's analysis. So NZD-USD, zooming out to get a bigger picture, you see that price has broken so many structure points to the downside. However, we now have, looking at the most recent price action, there's been a change of character around here. Now, this is a change of character which could become a flip zone in future, meaning that because this sunshine has been printed, ideally we're already expecting a temporal sell. We could see a sell that trades into this flip zone, thereby having a resistant turn support in the future. So there are multiple confluences that are making me think, okay, this is a level of interest. But I'm going to go on H1 to mark out, my POIs where I'm expecting price to eventually trade into. What are those POIs? There are typically three of my indicators. The one that attracts price to itself, the one that serves as a trend, and the one that serves as a momentum. These are now my 3 points of interest: 0.57378, 56941, and 56714. I'm now saying basically that I want to see sales, temporal sales occur. Where am I going to be looking to start buying from if this change of character, which just happened on NZUSD, is going to hold? I want to see you trading to this one. And even if you're not using indicators and you're just trying to take this entire swing from here to here, for you to now look for a good enough entry to start to buy from, you'll still be looking at somewhere around the 50% fib level, which happens to be in confluence with one of the zones that we drew out, right? So I'm going to take away this Fibonacci level. I drew that just so you see how, or rather why we are marking out those zones. At every point in time, we want to ensure we are early to the party. You don't want to be catching the crumbs when the move has already gone far. So you want to either buy low or sell high. So yes, these are now the zones that I think I shifted this on H4. These are now the 3 major points of interest on the 1 hour time frame. However, going into M5, because I know we will see some moves during the course of this session, let us now see the levels we'll be looking at for. What are they? They are typical, repetitive, the same thing that we do every single time. And that is yesterday's low, marked out. Yesterday's high also marked out into today's price movement. Go ahead to mark out it before yesterday's high here, and day before yesterday as well. All right, so these are now 3 points of interest that were marked out, saying this could also serve as support. Remember, anywhere you see this red line, horizontal line, is a level we marked out from H1. So this is extra confluence around this zone, our trend. So these three levels are now high probability levels. So if price comes into this zone and we see confirmations, remember, we're not just placing, limit orders around these zones. When price trades into those levels, we look for confirmation. And as far as the market meets our confirmation criteria, then we can now start to look for buy opportunities from these POIs. Now, looking at AUD-USD, I hope that analysis was clear and you also see what I'm saying. If you have any question, please do also drop it in the chat box. Okay, AUD-USD on the H4 time frame. Price broke through, sunshine printed. This guy, look at that. This is a lot of movement, especially for something like AU. So similar to what I did on any, I'm taking out last week's level point. This has happened. It is currently targeting what could serve as a resistance level. So, and sunshine has been printed right at that point. So of course, we'll not be surprised if we see this. We'll not be surprised if we see this. Now go to H1. What am I doing on H1? Marking out, my most recent POIs. POI 1, POI 2, points of interest 3. So 0.65603, 0.65141, and 0.65063. M5, what are we doing? Marking out yesterday's high and low, and day before yesterday's high and low as well. All marked out, and we know what it is we're expecting. Now, because I think there's a relevant room for me to sell, there's two confirmations here. Price is currently approaching, it has even approached this resistance level. Sunshine has been printed on H4. And if I see a confirmation, I could take a quick temporal sell of AUD. And of course, because I know it will not be a counter move, I will not be going in too big. So once I see confirmations, I'll take a quick sell, targeting this first take profit level. See how that plays out. We're going to reconvene by 2 p.m. for a recap. Now, this is what I'm looking out for AUD as well. Moving into USD CAD. Okay. Can you give me a second? All right. So looking at USD CAD on the H4 time frame, what are we expecting? So this sunshine was printed. This move would have been expected. Let's go to H1 to have a better picture. For if I were to draw out, if I were to draw out POIs on this time frame, it would be this, and this, right? For price to do this and then start to give me sell opportunities. So 1.39794, 1.40305, and 1.40366 are the three levels that I'm looking out for the USD. Can we go back to H4 to see the predominant move? This guy has been selling, but then this major point was taken out. This is now the next level we're looking at for price to eventually come and trade into. You zooming in, you see that there was a downtrend breakout structure. Yes, is this. There's a downtrend breakout structure to the downside. This happened. So this sell has already even started. However, if we see more retracement into this or these levels, then we cannot start to look for confirmations for us to now take another move downward. But again, if this buy starts to happen, you know how the concept of sunshine works. If this starts to happen and we don't see a new sunshine printed, meaning people who were taking this reversal, taking profit, then we could now wait a little so we see confirmations, the sunshine printed to show that we are taking profit out from the market. So go to M5, mark out yesterday's high and low, day before yesterday's high and low as well. Yeah, I'm squinting, too much screen time. All right, so these are now the levels of watching out for. Price is already breaking through this zone, so this will now be the next point of interest. When price eventually does this and hits some sort of support, we could see, more buy pressure support. However, if they get violated, it won't be shocking if we see the sell move continue downward. Okay, I saw a question from Mr. Soji. Good morning, madam. Good morning, Mr. Soji. Good job, thank you. I'd love to be like you. My question is, what time is best in the morning to analyze on the chart? Okay, so you could wake up by maybe 7:30, 8 a.m. Depending on the sessions. There are different sessions you could look at. There are people who try to trade, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. There are those who trade at 7:30. There are those who trade by 2 p.m., 1:30 to 2 p.m. So yeah, one of those times, depending on your schedule, you can always plan your schedule around that time to be able to look at the market before the volumes start to move heavily. I hope I answered that question, sir. You're welcome. All right, with that being said, thank you so much for joining. Remember to, give a quick eye to fundamentals to see what they are also doing during the course of today. We're going to go on a very short break and come back to wrap up this session with a look at indices. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly. Cheers and God bless.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the second part of today's market color. We'll be looking at the US equities markets in this second part of the market color. US 30, NAS 100, and also S&P 500. Looking at how those markets are doing and also spotting opportunities we can take advantage of in those markets. So very briefly, I'll be sharing my screen and we'll be checking out the market. Okay, I believe you can see my screen already as we speak, right? So starting with US 30. Starting with US 30 this morning. Okay, on the daily time frame. Remember the last time we had a conversation about this, we said the market is what technically is giving us bearish signatures. However, with what we have with seasonal tendency with the equities market and also fundamental, what sentiment is saying, what fundamental is saying, is tilting towards the market being very, very bullish, right? However, we have a technical, analysis difference, meaning technical is saying sell, but sentiment and fundamental is saying buy. That was our conclusion on Tuesday, right? And we said we are going to just leave this market answer for the meantime and see how the market is going to react. For those that understand box strategy, you know that this is a very good box, right? Playing out already in the market. This we have here a sweep of this and then a break to the downside, and then we have a fair value gap here. We have other block around the zone. So price could as well react off from this fair value gap or from this other block to sell to the downside. However, from what we have going on now, we can see that that's not the case. With although price started reacting off from the fair value gap, the next two candle actually violated all of this initial sell pressure that we had going on before now, right? Bringing it to the 4-hour time frame, there are two things we can do. Either wait for price to violate this fully before we now take trades, or we can just begin to spot opportunities from the closest point of reference, which is this other block here on the 4-hour time frame, meaning we use this other block to continue buy. Price sell into this, and then we continue buying to the upside. That's kind of an early entry because what's it called? Or also a risky entry, because the typical thing is for you to wait for price to violate the box pattern, right? Price violates this, and then wait for a return to this line for us to continue buying the market. But what we are seeing now in this market, and also sentiment helping us, you can see that we can actually take the buys from this zone and then continue its movement to the upside with anticipation that price is going to clear off this zone here, right? The price is going to clear off this, sweep this external liquidity, and then we'll continue. On the 1 hour time frame, what do we have? This other block is still very, very much significant, right? Has not been tested before, so it's a good place to wanting to buy the market. And then from this zone, we can say, okay, we're looking at 1:3, 1:2, depending on what we have going on. This is like 1:3, right? And this is like the first zone. If price clears this, we should anticipate an extension, right? Another price move, probably another 200, 300 pips to the upside again, which can give us further RR, like 1:5, 1:6, right? So this is what I have going on this morning in the market. If anything will change, it will be that fundamental is kind of bearish, right? There's a news that will come out and then send everything to the downside. Then we can be looking forward to, selling this market. However, even from what we have here, technically speaking, for those that trade purely technical analysis, which I don't advise for US 30, right? I don't advise that you trade only technicals with US 30 and the rest of US indices, right? Because it can be very tricky. But if you are doing that, you know that we are in a sell market, right? Because market has changed structure, right? A sweep here, price taking out external liquidity, and then broke structure to the downside, and then it's like a shift. Some would call it a change of character. Some would call it shift in market structure. Anyone you call it, it is correct. However, why we are not in the sense of following this shift is because of the fundamental, which is quite solid for the US economy right now. That's why we might not be able to just follow blindly what the market is doing or what technical is telling us to do, which is to sell the market. All right, so that's pretty much what I have going on for US 30, except let's say we're going into the lower time frame to spot what we have there. If there will be, opportunities on the lower time frame, it's still this other block. It's still this other block. And the other block is very much valid, right? There's another block which is very valid. So we can see probably a push to the downside and then price continuation in the initial direction, which is the bullish move we have going. All right. So briefly, let's look at the second one, which is US 100. That's the NASDAQ. US tech on the daily time frame. We see that it is bullish, right? We see the sell-off prices is recovering from all of this sell-off that has happened. And let me put it on the weekly time frame if you can see it more clearly. Okay, I think we're very, very much bullish, right? We are bullish, and then we are going to take out this external liquidity. I'm going to take out this external liquidity, and daily time frame also the same thing. 4 hour time frame, looking kind of very, very good. It's just from what zone, if we can get a good place to enter this market. And this morning it's very interesting, right? Because with all the things I'm seeing from high time frame to lower time frame, right? And if we're bullish, the best thing to do in this kind of market is to do what? Is to buy, right? So let's go to the 1 hour time frame and see if we could get opportunities, good spots that we could buy the market from. That's not been tested. This zone looks very interesting. It has not been tested before. Not the 2 hour time frame. Okay, tested before. Okay, so if price comes into this zone, I expect it to still buy and then use this as a form of inducement. Both of them like equal low kind of something, right? Equal low inducement or liquidity sweep, liquidity grab. And then what do we expect here? Expect price to push the upside. Then overall, this is the target here. Overall is target, but then let's look at an objective target. An objective target this morning will just be somewhere around here. Just be like TP1, right? TP1, overall TP is like 1:14. TP1 is like 1:15. 5 or 6. Okay, mine is to 5. Mine is to 4 point. Okay, mine is to 4 point something, right? 4.95, almost the same, right? So, but this is an objective target, a more realistic target. But then if you want to hold all the way, then no problem. They're looking at 1 is to 14, which is a very good RR. And it's possible price does that into next week or even today. I mean, this market can be very interesting sometimes. All right, so that's what I have going on this morning on this guy. Yeah, on US 100. And although we have other areas of interest, which is second one here, this other block has not been tested before, right? It has not been tested before. So cannot turn blind eye to this. It has not been tested before. Although this has been tested, the fair value gap has been tested, and then we have a push to the upside. And this has also been tested, a push to the upside, but this has not been. This looks like the two areas that are really, really interesting this morning that we could as well see price react from. Excuse me, that we could see price react from. So I'll be looking at this 2 point of interest. I have this one in mind because this is the closest to where price is, right? This is the closest to price, all right? So if for any reason this fails, then I'll be looking at the second one to take trades from, and then I know that we are going to continue the push to the upside because from even weekly time frame, we have what the market is doing already. You can see on the weekly time frame, we are bullish. We are bullish, extremely, extremely bullish. Price is trying to recover all of the push that all of the sell pressure that happened last week or last 2-3 weeks ago, right? So that's what we have. And you can see the next candle here is engulfing. It's an engulfing candle. It's an engulfing candle which closed strongly above. So it makes sense for us to continue seeing the rally to the upside. All right, the final one for today will be S&P 500. Also the same thing, S&P 500. You see the candlestick closing strong and extremely bullish to the upside. All right, so like an engulfing candle. All right, and then on the 4-hour time frame, this is what we have. Price is on this other block. I believe has tested the other block several times, but hasn't. It's still proving, it's still holding very strong. This level, so holding very strong. Let me go to the 1-hour time frame if I can see it clearly, more clearly there. Okay. All right. For this zone, price is still holding very strong in this zone. However, I still believe it's a buy because if US 30 is buying, NAS 100 is buying, the typical thing for S&P 500 to do is to follow the rally and buy, right? Except for something really, really significant. If something significant happens, right, in the market that makes S&P 5, but typically, if US 30 and NAS 100 is buying, it will also buy. Just that the volume might not be that much, but it will buy correlation. They are all correlated positively, right? So on the 1-hour time frame, the price action seems not to be too clear, right? You have like a ranging market on this zone, which is reacting strongly to this 4 hours order block on Friday. I'll just be looking at US 100, US 30, right? I'll be doing more of US 100 and US 30 while I keep S&P 500 to the last part of the chart so that I can monitor it to not necessarily take trades on it, except if something happens that is significant. But that without any of that happening, I would want to take only US 30 trades and also US 100 trades, right? US 30 from this zone, US 100 from this second zone, yeah, right? And I would be watching S&P 500 just as a guide, right, to the rest of these two analyses. All right, it's a good place to ask a question this morning if you have any question. So far, so good. Anna, it's been a while. Anna, good morning. Ayuba, good morning to you. Stony, good morning. And Tokwe, good morning to you. Do you have any question? Do you have any question? Do you have any question to ever? So that we can treat it. Okay, no question. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll reconvene by 2 p.m. for the New York session, and then hopefully probably the market will have, given us more candlesticks, and then we can use that to also align ourselves the market again, or you're already in the trade. I mean, anything can happen. Have good go if you have good volume in the afternoon, then I believe this strongly that the market will have picked our trade and then will have probably entered the trade or, about to enter the trade. All right. Thank you so much. I wish you all a profitable trading and cheers and God bless. Ensure you use proper risk management if you're trading today. And if you're not, or you don't have your analysis, you don't have your setup yet, there's no point to rushing the market. Also, we have the ATMC training going on currently as we speak. And in about, say, 50 to 55 minutes, it's going to starting by 10. So you have somebody that is interested in that side of market, synthetic trading, Big 75, derivative, and the rest. You can as well just let them know about the training. All right. Thank you so much. And then Merry Christmas in advance, right? It's already how many days to Christmas? 20 what now? Compliment of the season. Yes, sir. Compliment of the season. All right. Thank you, everyone. I wish you all the profitable trading. Cheers and God bless, guys.